Hi guys, welcome back to Techdate. So in today's episode, we'll be talking about Samsung Galaxy A8 and A8 Plus, Battlefield 1 Christmas Truce, PUBG's new game-ready driver. Next, in terms of mining, Bitcoin.com co-founder sells his Bitcoins for another cryptocurrency, followed by Apple's unification of OSs, and lastly, how was the year 2017 in terms of PC gaming. So without further ado, let's jump in!
American dream.
So for our first tech date, Samsung Galaxy A8 and A8 Plus. So both phones will feature designs which would closely resemble Samsung's flagship devices, meaning the Samsung S8 and S8 Plus. So which would offer large Super AMOLED Infinity displays with 18.5 to 9 aspect ratios. They will both have dual front cameras that support live focus, Samsung's portrait mode which would allow to adjust the bokeh effect before and after taking a shot. They would also be the first non-flagship Samsung phones to support Samsung Pay via MST and NFC, and the first A-series phones to feature support for Gear VR, and other important features include IP68 water and dust resistance, digital image stabilization for video, a new hyperlapse feature, and USB Type-C with fast charging. So the Samsung Galaxy A8 and A8 Plus will come in 4 colors, including black, orchid gray, gold, and blue. Pricing and regional availability has not been officially announced yet, but both phones will arrive in their intended markets in early January 2018, guys. So for Samsung, their timeline will be the Samsung Galaxy A8 and A8 Plus, which will be followed by in February by Samsung S9 and S9 Plus. So moving on to our next tech day. On December 25, 1914, the French, British, and German troops ventured out from their trenches across the Western Front to meet each other in no man's land. They'd spent the previous days, weeks, and months shooting at each other with orders to kill, but today was different. Battlefield 1 is a game during World War I, and its heartfelt campaign goes to great lengths to honor and pay tribute to the men and women involved in the conflict. Ever since its release in 2016, though that sober campaign has been at odds with the game's frenetic multiplayer component, a gamified arena which turns the Great War's historic battles into competitive spectator sport, and an experience designed to entertain and gratify rather than to contemplate on the horrors of the real events it's based upon. Whether that's appropriate is another debate in and of itself, but the fact is that Battlefield 1's two disparate parts take wildly different approaches in their treatment of World War I, and the developer, DICE, has yet to figure out a way to resolve this awkward imbalance. Christmas, however, represents an opportunity to use BF1's multiplayer to honor the World War I in a way that the campaign arguably never could, and the online community have indeed been trying to find a way to pay their respects to the historic Christmas Day Truce of 1914 through DICE's PvP infrastructure. So, what DICE, the developer, should do is to make things official, because in a way, the players are the only ones who are trying to make it official by playing the missions and helping each other. So DICE, please hear us, hear our request of a Christmas Day truce. So moving on to our next tech day. Last December 21, Nvidia released their game-ready driver for the year's most popular PC game, PUBG, or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds launched in the early access in March. Though relatively unknown to the wider world, PUBG was already a hit on Twitch thanks to several successful beta weekends and streams. Less than a month later, PUBG had enough concurrent players to dethrone several popular titles in the Steam Top 10, and by June, sales were rocketing. Today, over 25 million players own PUBG, making it the fastest selling game in Steam history. The second best selling Steam game ever, CSGO, released in 2012, is number 1, and the most played Steam game of all time with over 1 billion hours played, and with 2 million more concurrent players than a previous record holder, Dota 2. Now, PUBG is exiting early access with a new desert map, a new game-changing vaulting mechanic, new guns, new vehicles, and a replay system, a death cam, tweaks to the original Erangel map, and a whole load of optimization. And of course, there's the new game-ready driver with further optimizations and tweaks delivering the fastest and smoothest PUBG experience on any platform. So, such is the level of optimization. You can now play PUBG at over 60 FPS with high settings at 1080p at an affordable GTX 1060. So yes guys, for you to play PUBG at a good high settings at 60 FPS, you need to have your GTX 1060. So there's our new driver for you to try with your new video card. So for our next tech date guys, Apple's unification of OS. Earlier on Wednesday, Bloomberg reported that Apple is taking steps to unify its two disparate worlds, Mac OS, the official software that powers Apple laptops and desktop PCs, and iOS, the software on iPhones and iPads. The project, apparently codenamed Marzipan, is possibly launching as early as next year, would let app developers to write an app once and have it work both on Mac and iOS. It's a neat idea, as Bloomberg notes. Mac users have long complained that their versions of popular apps like Twitter have lagged feature-wise behind the iPhone equivalent. If Apple follows through with its plan, Twitter theoretically writes one app that brings new features to all users on all 3 different devices simultaneously. PC-bound Mac users will get to enjoy at least some of the hot, innovative new mobile apps that are developed for the iOS platform. It sounds like a way to bring the Mac into the party where all the action is today. But Mac users perhaps shouldn't celebrate too soon, because it may actually reveal Apple's intention to move away from the Mac. It's become interestingly clear that Apple sees the iOS operating system as the future of computing. If you need proof, just look at Apple's latest ad for the supersized iPad Pro. In it, a neighbor asks a young girl what she's up to with her iPad Pro, which she calls a computer. The girl responds, "What's a computer?" The message is clear. The next generation won't be using a PC. They'll be using the iPad Pro or something like it. And the future is A-OK with Apple. The only way to get software onto an iPad is via the App Store, where Apple gets a 30% cut of all transactions. So, for our last tech date, it's year 2017. How is it for PC gaming? In a year when PC gaming became more multifaceted and complicated than ever, it also popularized a genre, Battle Royale, with one of the simplest premises imaginable. As ever, PC remains at the forefront of gaming, whether it's in the platform's long-time advantage in the hardware department, its role as a breeding ground for interesting indies that go on to become multi-platform hits, or attempts to solve the mind-boggling logistical problem of theoretically offering nearly every game ever. PC leads so many dances that you'd need to be a human centipede to keep up. But in discussing PC gaming, we also have to consider that unlike PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PC is not a monolith. PC is a conglomeration of disparate platforms and moving pieces, from the Steam's algorithm-driven digital metropolis to itch.io's boundless mom-and-pop shop, from grimy CSGO and PUBG skin gambling pits to equally questionable gray markets like G2A, from games that are their own platform like League of Legends to tiny freeware games that don't have platforms at all. A great year in PC gaming from one person can be abysmal for another. So I'd be remiss if I didn't discuss PC gaming on those norms. I can't be 100% comprehensive here, I'd end up writing a book, so let's go over the big ones. Steam. Steam continues to balloon in all directions. While Valve hasn't released an exact user count in a couple of years, it's safe to say the number exceeds 100 million, and concurrent user joins just keep going up. The total number of games on Steam, too, is astronomical at this point, and the introduction of Steam Direct only opened the floodgates wider. This has left Steam in an awkward spot. It's tempting to say that Steam's biggest problem is the near constant influx of slipshod games that prey on hapless users, but while some games do, indeed, embrace scammy and spammy business models in hopes of rising to the top. Few of them actually succeed. For most Steam users, the problem is that there are too many good games lining in the digital shelves, and it's easy for people to miss games they'd otherwise really love. Valve has tried to solve this problem with algorithms and creators to mix results. While features like the Steam Discovery Queue are apparently doing a better job than ever of resurfacing games that might have otherwise sank, digging up new games on Steam that can still be a daunting prospect, there are sections within sections, menus within menus, and multiple pages that ostensibly serve similar purposes. Steam has evolved into a massive, bloated gut knot of markets, communities, ideas, and systems, some still in use, others directionless or vestigial, all layered on top of each other. It needs an overhaul. Valve, at least, seemed to acknowledge some of Steam's more virulent issues in 2017. In the first half of the year, it took aim at so-called fake games, hacked together asset packs that made most of their money by exploiting Steam's trading card market. By exchanging the rules around trading cards, this, however, helped give rise to trends like equally low-quality achievement spam games. These kinds of games, Valve has admitted, gum up its algorithm, so it's taken to removing hundreds of them from the service. Still, this seems like a temporary stopgap, not a long-term solution to the problem. So, there you have it, guys, for today's episode of Techdate. So remember, if you like this episode, click the like button, please subscribe to my channel, and see you on the next one. Peace!